Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. You ready to go?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay. Today we're looking at something that might seem basic on the surface, but trust me, there's always more beneath the
Oh,
surface,
yeah.
especially when we're, looking at it from the angle of teaching and we're looking at adjectives today from an article all about teaching adjectives to ESL students.
Yeah.
And I have to say, when I first saw that, I thought, oh, okay, kind of basic grammar stuff, but wow, this article really opened my eyes to how much I hadn't thought about
Oh, so
adjectives.
sure. And it's amazing how looking at something through the lens of teaching it to someone else really makes you understand it so much better yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And this article starts off with this really catchy line about adjectives transforming sentences. And I thought, okay, transform. That's a big claim.
It is, but
Yeah.
they're not wrong.
Yeah.
Think about it. You could say she wore a dress, or you could say she wore a shimmering emerald green dress that flowed like water. It's the same dress, but the
You
adjectives.
get a picture in your mind.
Exactly. They bring it to life.
It's not just a dress anymore. It's like a whole scene.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the kind of big idea here, the power of adjectives. But the article then goes on to break down all the different types, and it starts with these positive adjectives, the ones that kind of just make you feel good, happy, brilliant.
Right. All the good vibes. But here's the thing. Even those positive adjectives can be flipped on their head.
How's that?
Well, the article points out just add the word not. And suddenly, engaging becomes, not engaging motivated becomes not motivated.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's like a secret weapon for subtlety.
It is. It makes me think of how politicians use language.
Mhm.
They never say something is bad. They say it's not ideal.
Exactly. It's all about nuance. And that's what's so fascinating about adjectives. They add these layers of meaning.
Okay, I'm with you. And speaking of layers, the article then goes into comparative and superlative adjectives.
Right. The ones that tell us how things measure up against each other.
Like stronger or best, this coffee is stronger than that one. This is the best pizza I've ever had.
Exactly. And I think what's cool about comparatives and superlatives is that they reveal something about how language works.
Ooh, tell me more. I'm always up for some language geekery.
Well, think about irregular superlatives,
Mm.
like good, better,
Yeah.
best. These aren't just random exceptions. They're like little echoes of older forms of English.
Oh,
They
wow.
show us how language evolves organically over time.
That's so cool. So it's like these little linguistic fossils embedded in our everyday speech.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that language isn't static. It's constantly shifting and adapting.
I love that language is alive.
It is. And speaking of bringing things to life, the article then moves on to what it calls descriptive adjectives. These are like the workhorses of the adjective world.
Okay, workhorses in what sense?
Well, they're the ones that really paint a picture in our minds. They give us all
Mm.
those sensory details, the size, the shape, the color, the texture.
Ah, okay. I said, so instead of just saying a house, you'd say,
You'd say a ramshackle abandoned Victorian mansion on a windswept hill.
oh, wow. Yeah, one is just a noun and the other is practically a whole movie scene.
Exactly. And the article makes a great point about how these descriptive adjectives are especially crucial for anyone learning a language.
Yeah, because it's not enough to just know the names of things, right?
Right. You need those adjectives to really understand and express the nuances of the world around you.
Absolutely. So how does the article suggest we actually go about teaching all these different types of adjectives?
Well, it gives some really creative and engaging activities. And I think what's so cool is that they're not just for language learners. They're fun for anyone who loves to play with words.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
One that caught my eye is called Picture Race. Students are shown an image, and they have to come up with as many adjectives as possible to describe it.
Oh, I love that. It's like a competitive vocabulary workout.
It is, and it's amazing how, even for native speakers, we often struggle to find the right words when we're put on the spot.
Oh, totally. It's like playing Dictionary when you're trying to draw a fluffy, mischievous kitten and your team is just shouting out random nouns.
Exactly. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes to access those descriptive adjectives.
For sure. Another activity they mention is describe your best friend, and this one uses multiple types of adjectives to really create a well-rounded description.
Well, that's a good one. And you know what I think could be even more interesting if you describe someone you didn't know?
Wow, that's a good
Well,
twist. It would really challenge you to be observant and choose your words carefully.
right, because you'd have to capture the essence of someone in just a few well-chosen adjectives.
I like that challenge. What other activities did the article suggest?
Well, there's grow the sentence, where you start with a simple sentence and keep adding adjectives to make it more and more elaborate.
Oh, that's fun. You could get really creative with that.
And he also mentioned taboo and adjective bingo, which are classic games that can easily be adapted to focus on adjective learning.
Right, so you're kind of sneaking the grammar in there while people are having fun.
Exactly. And speaking of making learning fun, the article also highlights the use of authentic content, like movies and TV shows.
Oh, that's interesting. So instead of just doing grammar drills, you're seeing how adjectives are used in real life situations.
Exactly. They even give the example of using Enola Holmes to explore adjectives.
Oh, okay, now that's brilliant. I love that idea. Now I'm picturing Sherlock describing a crime scene using only adjectives. The candlestick was shiny.
It's a great way to see how adjectives are used naturally in context, and the article suggests using a platform called FluentU, which curates authentic videos and adds interactive captions and quizzes.
That sounds like a really helpful tool. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from the power of adding not to the art of painting word pictures with descriptive adjectives. What's the big takeaway for our listeners? What's the one thing we want them to remember about adjectives?
For me, the big takeaway is that adjectives, they're not just these like little decorations, not just sprinkles on top.
Right. They're really powerful tools.
They are.
And, we use them all the time without even thinking about it.
It's true.
But when you actually stop and pay attention to adjectives, it's amazing how much they can change the way we see things and the way we communicate.
So absolutely.
Yeah.
And the article even says this applies to everyone, whether you're learning English as a second language or you've been speaking it your whole life.
Yeah,
We can all benefit from becoming more aware of the adjectives we use.
totally. So to wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with a little challenge.
Okay.
As you go about your day, pay attention to the adjectives you encounter.
Ooh, I like this.
Not just in books or articles, but in conversations, in advertisements.
Yeah.
Even just the way people describe their day.
Yes.
And notice how those adjectives shape your perceptions,
Right.
how they influence your understanding of the world around you.
That's such a good point. Because sometimes a single word can completely change the feeling of a sentence.
It's true. And I'd add, pay attention to the adjectives you use too. Are you sticking to the same old words, or are you trying new things, branching out a little?
Well, because the more we play with language, the more expressive and colorful our communication becomes.
Exactly. So that's our deep dive on adjectives.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. And I hope everyone listening has too. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See you then.